Charlotte came home early from work to surprise her boyfriend Derek with his favorite meal. She opened the door quietly and heard strange sounds from the bedroom. She walked slowly to the room and opened the door. There was Derek in bed with her best friend Bridget. Charlotte screamed so loud that the neighbors came running. That scream changed everything. Bridget ran away that day, but she had no idea what was coming for her. Charlotte and Bridget had been best friends since they were 5 years old. They grew up in the same neighborhood and went to the same schools. Everyone knew them as sisters who were never apart. Charlotte was the quiet one who always helped everyone. Bridget was the loud one who loved attention and parties. Despite their differences, they loved each other deeply and promised to never let anything come between them. When they turned 20, Charlotte started dating Derek. He was a good man who worked at the bank and treated Charlotte very well. He bought her gifts and took her on dates every weekend. Charlotte was so happy, and she always told Bridget about how good Derek was to her. Bridget would smile and say she was happy for Charlotte. But deep down, Bridget was jealous of what Charlotte had. Bridget had always been the one with boyfriends while Charlotte focused on her studies. But now, Charlotte had found true love, and Bridget was still jumping from man to man. None of her relationships lasted more than 3 months. She started to hate seeing Charlotte so happy with Derek. She began to plan how she could destroy their relationship and take Derek for herself. The betrayal happened on a Tuesday afternoon. Charlotte had been working extra hours to save money for a special dinner with Derek. She wanted to cook for him at home instead of going to expensive restaurants. She bought all the ingredients and rushed home early. But instead of a romantic evening, she found her whole world falling apart. The image of her best friend and boyfriend together would never leave her mind. 3 days later, Bridget came to Charlotte's apartment. She knocked on the door for 10 minutes before Charlotte finally opened it. Charlotte's eyes were red from crying, and she looked very tired. Bridget tried to hug her, but Charlotte pushed her away. The conversation that followed would end their friendship forever. What Bridget said next shocked Charlotte to her core. Bridget looked at Charlotte without any shame in her eyes. She said she was not sorry for what happened with Derek. She told Charlotte that she had been sleeping with Derek for 2 months before Charlotte caught them. She said Derek loved her more than Charlotte, and that Charlotte should just accept it. Charlotte could not believe her ears. This was not the friend she had known for 15 years. Charlotte asked Bridget why she did this terrible thing to her. Bridget laughed and said Charlotte had always been too boring for a man like Derek. She said Charlotte never knew how to dress well or make herself beautiful. She told Charlotte that Derek needed a real woman, not someone who only cared about work and saving money. Every word felt like a knife in Charlotte's heart. Derek was standing outside the apartment, listening to everything. He came inside and told Charlotte that he was leaving her for Bridget. He said he had fallen in love with Bridget and could not fight his feelings anymore. He packed his things and left with Bridget that same day. Charlotte was left alone in the apartment they had shared for 1 year. She cried until she had no more tears left. Charlotte's world was completely destroyed. She had lost her boyfriend and her best friend on the same day. She took 1 week off from work because she could not stop crying. Her other friends tried to comfort her, but nothing helped. She felt like she would never trust anyone again. But Charlotte had no idea that life was preparing something special for both her and Bridget. 2 months after the betrayal, Charlotte decided to change her life completely. She joined a gym and started taking care of her appearance. She bought new clothes and changed her hairstyle. She wanted to become a better version of herself. At the gym, she met a personal trainer named William who was very kind to her. He helped her exercise and always made her laugh when she felt sad. William was different from any man Charlotte had ever met. He was tall, handsome, and very successful. He owned 3 gyms in the city and was planning to open more. But what Charlotte loved most about him was how he treated her. He listened to everything she said and never made her feel like she was not good enough. He encouraged her to follow her dreams and supported her in everything she did. After 3 months of training together, William asked Charlotte out on a date. She was scared because of what happened with Derek, but she decided to give love another chance. Their first date was perfect. William took her to a beautiful restaurant and they talked for hours. He told her she was the most interesting woman he had ever met. Charlotte felt happy for the first time in months. Charlotte and William started dating seriously. He introduced her to his family and friends who all loved her immediately. William's mother said Charlotte was the perfect woman for her son. Charlotte felt like she was living in a dream. William treated her like a queen and made her forget all the pain Bridget and Derek had caused her. She finally understood what real love felt like. Meanwhile, Charlotte heard from other friends that Bridget and Derek were having problems. Derek had lost his job at the bank and was struggling to find work. Bridget was getting tired of supporting him financially. The perfect relationship they thought they had was falling apart. But Charlotte was too busy being happy with William to care about their problems. She had moved on completely. 1 year later, William proposed to Charlotte in front of all their friends and family. He got down on one knee at her birthday party and asked her to marry him. The ring was the most beautiful thing Charlotte had ever seen. She said yes immediately, and everyone cheered. The proposal was posted on social media, and many people congratulated them. Even people who knew about the situation with Bridget and Derek were happy for Charlotte. Charlotte and William planned a big wedding for 6 months later. They rented the most expensive venue in the city and invited 200 people. Charlotte's family was so proud of her for finding such a good man. William's family welcomed her with open arms and treated her like their own daughter. Everything was perfect, and Charlotte had never been happier in her entire life. The wedding planning was going smoothly until Charlotte received a phone call from Bridget. Bridget was crying on the phone and begging Charlotte to forgive her. She said she had made the biggest mistake of her life and wanted their friendship back. She told Charlotte that Derek had left her for another woman, and she was now alone. Charlotte listened quietly but felt no sympathy for Bridget at all. Bridget asked if she could come to the wedding. She promised she would not cause any trouble and just wanted to see Charlotte happy. Charlotte told her that she was not invited and never would be. She said Bridget had made her choice, and now she had to live with it. Charlotte hung up the phone and blocked Bridget's number. She did not want anything to disturb her happiness with William. The wedding day arrived, and it was more beautiful than Charlotte had ever imagined. She looked like a princess in her white dress, and William looked so handsome in his suit. All their friends and family were there to celebrate with them. Charlotte felt like the luckiest woman in the world. She had found true love and was starting a new life with the man of her dreams. But Bridget was watching everything from outside the venue. Bridget could not handle seeing Charlotte so happy while her own life was falling apart. After Derek left her for another woman, she lost her job and her apartment. She had to move back in with her parents, who were ashamed of what she had done to Charlotte. Everyone in their neighborhood knew the story, and people would whisper when they saw her. She became depressed and started drinking alcohol every day. Bridget's parents tried to help her, but she refused to listen to anyone. She spent all day looking at Charlotte's social media posts about her happy marriage with William. She saw photos of their honeymoon trip to Paris and their new house in the best part of the city. The jealousy was eating her alive, and she could not sleep at night. She started planning ways to destroy Charlotte's happiness again. 3 months after Charlotte's wedding, Bridget decided to contact William directly. She sent him messages on social media telling him lies about Charlotte. She said Charlotte had cheated on Derek before and would probably cheat on him too. She told William that Charlotte was only interested in his money and did not really love him. But William was not a fool like Derek had been. William showed all of Bridget's messages to Charlotte. They both laughed at how desperate Bridget had become. William told Charlotte that nothing Bridget said would ever make him doubt their love. He said he knew Charlotte's heart and trusted her completely. Charlotte felt even more grateful to have such a wonderful husband who would never believe lies about her. They decided to ignore Bridget and focus on their own happiness. But Bridget was not finished yet. She was determined to make Charlotte pay for being happier than her. She started following Charlotte around the city and taking photos of her. She created fake social media accounts to send hate messages to Charlotte and William. She even called Charlotte's workplace and told lies to her boss. But every plan Bridget made failed because Charlotte and William were too strong together. Bridget was only making herself look more desperate and crazy. Bridget's behavior became more dangerous as the months went by. She would wait outside Charlotte's office building and follow her home. She sent threatening letters to Charlotte's house and called her phone at all hours of the night. Charlotte became scared and told William everything that was happening. William was very angry and wanted to call the police immediately. But Charlotte asked him to wait and see if Bridget would stop on her own. One evening, Charlotte was leaving work late when she saw Bridget hiding behind a car in the parking lot. Bridget had a knife in her hand and was walking towards Charlotte. Charlotte screamed and ran back into the building. The security guard saw everything and called the police immediately. Bridget dropped the knife and ran away before the police arrived. But the security cameras had recorded everything she did. The police started looking for Bridget, but she had disappeared. Charlotte was terrified and could not go anywhere alone. William hired a bodyguard to protect his wife and installed security cameras around their house. He told Charlotte they should have called the police months ago when the harassment started. Charlotte agreed, but she never imagined her former best friend would try to hurt her physically. Charlotte stopped going to work and stayed home all day. She was too scared to leave the house even with the bodyguard. William took time off from his business to stay with his wife. He could see that Charlotte was becoming depressed and losing weight from stress. He decided that enough was enough and hired a private detective to find Bridget and make sure she was arrested. The private detective found Bridget living in an abandoned building with homeless people. She had spent all her money on alcohol and drugs and looked terrible. Her hair was dirty and her clothes were torn. She was talking to herself and seemed to have lost her mind completely. The detective called the police and they arrested Bridget immediately. When Charlotte saw the photos of how Bridget looked, she felt sad for the girl who used to be her best friend. The police charged Bridget with stalking, harassment, and attempted assault with a weapon. She had no money for a lawyer, so the court gave her a public defender. When Bridget appeared in court, even her own parents could not recognize her. She had lost so much weight and looked like a completely different person. The judge looked at all the evidence and was shocked by what Bridget had done to Charlotte. Charlotte had to testify in court about everything Bridget had done to her. She told the judge about the stalking, the threatening messages, and the night Bridget tried to attack her with a knife. Charlotte spoke clearly and calmly, while Bridget sat in the defendant's chair crying. The courtroom was full of people who had come to support Charlotte, including her family, William's family, and friends from work. Bridget's lawyer tried to argue that she was mentally ill and needed help instead of punishment. But the prosecutor showed the judge all the evidence of Bridget's calculated harassment campaign. The social media messages, the photos she had taken while stalking Charlotte, and the witness statements from the security guard proved that Bridget knew exactly what she was doing. This was not mental illness, but pure evil jealousy. William testified about how the stalking had affected his wife's mental health and their marriage. He told the judge that Charlotte could not sleep at night and was afraid to leave their house. He said they had spent thousands of dollars on security measures to protect themselves from Bridget. The judge listened carefully to everything and could see how much pain Bridget had caused this innocent couple. When it was time for Bridget to speak, she finally apologized to Charlotte for everything she had done. She cried and said she never meant for things to go so far. She blamed her actions on depression and alcohol, but admitted that she was jealous of Charlotte's happiness. Charlotte looked at her former friend and felt sorry for her, but knew that the apology was too little and too late. The damage had already been done. The judge sentenced Bridget to 5 years in prison for stalking and attempted assault. She also had to pay Charlotte money for all the security costs and therapy bills. The judge said Bridget's actions were unacceptable and that jealousy was no excuse for trying to destroy someone's life. Bridget cried when she heard the sentence, but Charlotte felt relief that the nightmare was finally over. After the trial, Charlotte and William went home to start rebuilding their lives. Charlotte started therapy to help her deal with the trauma of being stalked by her former best friend. William was very supportive and went to some therapy sessions with her. Slowly, Charlotte began to feel safe again and started going back to work. The whole experience had made their marriage even stronger. Charlotte's family and friends were proud of how brave she had been during the trial. Many people told her that Bridget got what she deserved and that justice had been served. Charlotte agreed, but she still felt sad about losing the friend she had grown up with. She wished things could have been different, but knew that some people cannot handle other people's success and happiness. William's business continued to grow, and he opened 2 more gyms in other cities. Charlotte got a promotion at work and was making more money than ever before. Their life was better than it had ever been, and they were planning to start a family soon. Charlotte realized that Bridget's betrayal had actually led her to find true happiness with the right man. Sometimes bad things happen for good reasons. News of Bridget's arrest and trial spread on social media and in their neighborhood. Everyone was talking about how jealousy had destroyed a beautiful friendship and nearly ruined an innocent woman's life. Many people shared the story as a warning about the dangers of toxic friendships and jealousy. Charlotte hoped that other people would learn from her experience and be careful about who they trust. Life in prison was very hard for Bridget. The other inmates did not like her because they knew she had tried to destroy her best friend's happiness. She was often alone and had no visitors because even her own parents were too ashamed to come see her. She spent most of her time thinking about all the bad choices she had made and how different her life could have been if she had just been happy for Charlotte. Bridget had to work in the prison kitchen for very little money. The work was hard, and the other prisoners treated her badly. She wrote many letters to Charlotte asking for forgiveness, but Charlotte never replied. The prison counselor told Bridget that she needed to accept that some mistakes cannot be undone. She had destroyed her friendship and her life because of jealousy and pride. In prison, Bridget learned that Derek had gotten married to the woman he left her for. They were very happy and had just had their first child. When Bridget heard this news, she realized that Derek had never really loved her at all. He had just used her to hurt Charlotte and then moved on to someone else. She had destroyed her life for a man who did not care about her at all. Bridget started attending therapy sessions in prison to deal with her anger and jealousy issues. The therapist helped her understand that her problems started long before she met Derek. She had always been jealous of Charlotte's success and good character. Instead of trying to improve herself, she had chosen to destroy what Charlotte had built. This realization made Bridget very depressed. As the months passed, Bridget's health got worse because of the stress and poor prison food. She lost more weight and her hair started falling out. She looked in the mirror and did not recognize the person staring back at her. She had once been beautiful and popular, but now she was a broken woman paying the price for her evil actions. She began to understand that jealousy had destroyed everything good in her life. 3 years after the trial, Charlotte gave birth to beautiful twins, a boy and a girl. William was the happiest man in the world, and Charlotte had never felt so complete. They moved to an even bigger house with a large garden where the children could play safely. Charlotte's parents moved in with them to help take care of the babies. Everyone was so happy and the house was always full of love and laughter. Charlotte often thought about Bridget and wondered how different things would be if her former friend had chosen to be happy for her, instead of trying to destroy her happiness. She realized that the betrayal had taught her valuable lessons about friendship and trust. She was now very careful about who she let into her life, and always watched for signs of jealousy in other people. William's gym business had expanded to 10 locations across the country, and he was planning to open more. Charlotte had also started her own business helping other women who had been betrayed by friends. She used her experience to counsel women and teach them how to recognize toxic friendships. Her story had inspired many people, and she received letters from women all over the world thanking her for sharing her experience. Charlotte never visited Bridget in prison and never replied to her letters. She had forgiven Bridget in her heart, but she knew that some relationships can never be repaired. She focused all her energy on her family and her new life with William. She was grateful every day for escaping a toxic friendship that could have destroyed her life completely. The story of Charlotte and Bridget became a warning tale in their community about the dangers of jealousy and toxic friendships. Parents used their story to teach their children about choosing good friends and being happy for other people's success. Charlotte hoped that sharing her story would help other women recognize fake friends before they could cause damage. She learned that real friends celebrate your success, while fake friends try to destroy it. Be very careful who you trust with your heart and your secrets, because not everyone who calls themselves your friend really wants what is best for you. The end.
Thank you for watching the video to the end. If you find this video interesting, do well to hit the subscription button, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell for new stories.